going rates as expatriates. If you are conversant with the goings on in that region, you would have realized that at some point, most of the people that were being abducted were not actual multinational oil company staff. They were subcontractors. Most of them were those Filipino plumbers. Okay? Now, I'm saying all this to let you know what unemployability means. And it simply means that there are jobs available, but you do not have the skill sets required to meet them. Now, remember, I started by saying we live in the age of uncertainty. The third aspect of that proposition is that, like I said, there's a challenge of jobs. We have a challenge with our own educational system. Our educational system is undergoing a credibility crisis. If you step out now into the labor market, you should be aware that many big companies have devised what we may describe as a kind of professional caste system in selecting who they employ. On top of the pie are Nigerians trained abroad. If you are a Nigerian and you studied abroad, the default assumption is that simply because you studied abroad, you have something that Nigerians that studied in Nigeria do not have. Okay? I'm not asking whether you believe it or not. I'm just telling you how it is working right now. This is the way it works. And so if you step into the same context with your contemporary, and the only difference between both of you is where you have tertiary education, he or she is more likely to get the job that you want because he studied abroad. And it is assumed that a certificate or a degree from a foreign university, even if that university is in Ghana, okay, is of more value or is of more substance than a degree from a Nigerian university. On the second level of that caste system, you have Nigerians trained in private universities. Because I suppose the assumption is that since private universities do not suffer from frequent industrial actions, and since they are very expensive, then that means the education they are getting there must be good. It's not a very logical assumption, but that is how it is done. On the third level, you have expatriates. Foreigners that, for one reason or the other, cannot get jobs in their own countries will come to Nigeria and work into jobs that Nigerians cannot get. And on the fourth level are people like you and I that studied in federal and state universities and can only be employed basically on pain of death. I hope you understand that. So these are the issues that we're facing. Our challenge now is to ask ourselves how we can respond creatively and constructively to these challenges. The first thing I want you to note, the first thing you must understand, because where I'm coming from, the perspective that I'm coming from is that the great deal, the substance of the challenge we face is a mental one. And if we can get past the mental one, now when I say mental, the mental challenge, I mean in terms of perspective, paradigms, values, there is a way we are thinking that is wrong. And that is what I want to illustrate and address. The first thing I want you to understand and to take note of is this. The age of lifetime job security is over. The age of lifetime job security is over. The likelihood that you will enter an organization at entry level now and be in that organization for 25 to 30 years is almost non-existent. I hope you understand that. That is the first place to start from. Because for different reasons, but mainly, I suppose, because of the way we have been raised and the values we were raised with, we have not been trained to be entrepreneurial. The framework of our educational system does not teach us to be entrepreneurial. Actually, the model of education we are using now is a model of education that was meant to train people to be civil servants. It was not made, it wasn't designed to train you to be somebody of initiative, to take initiative or to start things on your own. And so the average Nigerian student in a university is thinking purely in terms of security. You are thinking of a place that when you leave, when you graduate, when you step into this organization, that organization will take care of you for the rest of your life. And the first thing you have to realize is that the age of lifetime job security is over. I'm going to give you concrete examples to show you why this assumption, why this proposition is correct. 15 or 20 years ago, if you walked into a Nigerian bank, any Nigerian bank, and if you walked into the banking floor, in front of you, you would see about 10 people manning the tellers. 10 people manning the tellers. That is about 15 to 20 years ago. You would see 10 people averagely manning those tellers. Today, if you walk into any Nigerian bank, you see in front of you 4 people manning the tellers. At the most, 5 people manning the tellers. 10 minus 5 is 5. And what that tells you is that over a period of 10 to 15 years, 50% of a particular job spectrum disappeared. So where before, in the if you were in university in the late 80s, you could afford to enter and tell yourself, when I graduate, I'll get a banking job, because there are 10 tellers, 10 vacancies that need to be filled. Now there are only 5. And what happened to the rest of those jobs is simple: automation. There were no ATMs 15 years ago. Now every bank has an ATM. As a matter of fact, there's a bank in Lagos that has an entire branch of only ATMs. And I need you to think for a moment and place yourself in an employer's shoes. ATMs do not ask for salary increases. ATMs don't get tired. ATMs don't go on strike. ATMs don't grumble. ATMs are not impolite. In other words, ATMs are the dream employee for anybody running a bank. I hope you understand this. Good. It is unreasonable for somebody to spend 4 years in university, probably 5 or 6 years, given current realities, and have as an ambition to end up behind the teller counting money. You do not need a university degree to count money, because I hope you realize that when you remove all the glitz from it, that is what work as a teller means. You don't have that option at all. The remaining 5 vacancies are now closed to university graduates. In the 1990s, a bank, one of the new generation banks, decided that it was not reasonable to pay graduates such high amounts of salaries simply because they were counting money. So that bank organized a promotion exam and fielded all the graduates in that bank and said this was the plan. If you are a graduate, you shouldn't be counting money. We will have promotion exams. If you pass, we move on to the next level. If you fail, we throw you out. Yeah. The vacancies for the tellers were now fielded specifically for OND holders. Okay. And the logic was this. Yeah. An OND holder will be happy to collect half, even a quarter of what the graduate is collecting. So it is an entirely sensible, cost-cutting measure for a bank. Okay. I hope maybe for our parents, it was relatively simple for them because they live in a simpler and a less complicated time. But you cannot afford to think like that. To begin with, most of the organizations that our parents work for, a lot of them don't even exist anymore. So you have to understand that time